Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Today happens to be the 74th Independence Day of India. 73 years back, on the midnight of 14th and the 15th, India's first Prime Minister had declared it to be a tryst with destiny. And 73 years is a sufficient time to see, evaluate, and look forward to after taking stock of the old. Have we really been successful in that tryst with destiny? Does our bromance with freedom and liberty been successful? And if we have a balance sheet drawer with the debit and the credit side, where do we stand? Celebration of an event like this, whether it's India or Pakistan, should not be an absolutely unalloyed job. I remember when I was a kid, we used to be so enthused by the idea of Independence Day that we would dress in our finest clothes, well ironed, well creased, and absolutely spick and span, and go to the stadia or to the schools, have great days, celebrations, tournaments, and the sweets, which was distributed everywhere on the street corners, in the schools, in the offices. And people were really thrilled. Sometimes we feel that it was bliss to be born in that age, an age of helicon beauty and charm, the fairy tale charm. But when you grow, when you look at the things, then you have got to pause. You have got to reflect. Is that tryst becoming a nightmare or not? And if I look at the balance sheet, the progress of India has not been something to be sneezed at. It is something to be proud of, though much more could have been done. As a matter of fact, today India could have been number one economy in the world. Instead of lagging behind today at the fourth and the fifth, and hoping to be the third by 2024. But it could have been fast. There was certain inherent lacuna. The most important lacuna was in the constitution of India. And if you'll be amazed to know, you might be knowing it, that the original constitution did not contain the two stupid words, socialist and secular. Both were incorporated later on. No, I have nothing against socialism per se. It looks very good. But as King Gustav of Sweden once told, that if you are a socialist if you are not a socialist before the age of 25, you have no heart. But if you continue to be a socialist after 25, you have no head. And that's correct to a large extent. The story of socialism has been a disaster. It's a god that failed, and India hitched its wagon to socialism, to mixed economy, thereby missing the bus to be number one economy in the world. Secularism, as I have put in my note today on the Facebook, and my idea of the day, it's basically a Western concept, and it was there because there was no ambiguity. It was Christianity, Christianity, and Christianity, the various factions. And the whole concept secularism is alien because secularism means divorce from religion, and Indian ethos embraced religion. But then, when the people say equal respect to every religion, it's good. Nothing wrong with that. But respect does not mean subservience to any religion. Even the first Prime Minister of India, as I've clearly written in my note, I've given a historical perspective. He was a rationalist. He refused to go to Somnath temple, but he did not touch the Muslim personal law. He ordered that the imams be paid the salaries, but not the Hindu pandits, not the Sikh granthis. So there was a skewed secularism to begin with. And as a matter of fact, secularism is a dirty word today. The proper word should be pluralism. That would be better. Then, we have blinkers on India. I mean, before I take up the audit, I'll come to the audit as well. Our blinkers are, as I said, socialism, secularism, and the third is brother. This word brother. There was a time when we used to say Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai. Till that time, Chinese stabbed India in the back. Even today, there are many people in India who say Pakistan is our brother. No, it's not. It's our neighbor. The word brother connotes sibling rivalry. Pakistan is not a sibling. Pakistan was carved out, surgical operation it was, on the body politic of India. And the sooner India realizes it, the better it would be. Treat it as an independent country. Treat it as a neighbor who doesn't have good intentions of living with you. So all that talk of brotherly relations, let them be economic relations, good economic relations. I can accept it. But brotherly relations, there's no sense in that. You have got to accept life as it is. And the reality is that Pakistan is not a brother, it's a neighbor and an unfriendly neighbor. And once you accept that, then you will modulate your policies about that. Now come to our democracy. I'm starting the audit now. The biggest problem about the democracy is, especially in India, absolutely patchy ethical content. Money and muscle power are all around us. Legislators are available for sale. And can you believe this is the only country where they are sold in the open market? They are locked up in resorts. I wish that somebody starts selling and buying these MLAs and MPs on the stock market. Caste matters more than the merit in elections. Undemocratic political dynasties proliferate. Constitutional autonomous institutions are under pressure. And parliament, if it functions at all, very rarely witnesses informed and scintillating debate. It's only either invectives, shouting, or all praise and flattery. So, as far as the democratic system is concerned, despite the robust capability of the electorate, the legislature is absolutely tasteless. Economy has grown exponentially, not as much as it should have. But then we are the fifth largest economy today by GDP and the third largest by PPP. There's a purchasing power parity, and nobody talks about it. This is in the last 7 years under the capability the capable policies of Modi that India's PPP increased and we are the third largest economy by PPP, and that's very important. We talk of GDP, and I've talked about GDP earlier, that it's a misguiding figure, but it's unequal. The richest 1% of the India owns 58.4% of the country's wealth. The richest 10% are astoundingly rich, and the bottom 10% of the nation own how much? Are you having an idea? 0.2% of the national wealth. Secondly, rich are getting richer. I don't deny it. That between 2005 and 2016, 270 million people were lifted above the poverty line. But the per capita income last year, 2019, India was at 139th in the world. 139 out of 200 odd countries. And China was at 65. Now come, we always proud ourselves that we are an agriculture country. India is number 2 worldwide in farm output, so that's creditable. And number 1 today, number 1 in the world in the net cropped area is the world's largest producer of milk, second largest producer of wheat and rice. And yet, in the global hunger index, India is at number 102 out of 117 countries. That means only 15 countries are below. Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh are above India. So despite being number 1 in milk, in wheat, in rice, the hunger index is terrible. Imagine, shocking. The countries like Bangladesh should be better than India. Are we Somalia? Coming to the second part, half of our workforce is employed in agriculture. 50% of the Indian workforce. But agriculture contributes only 16% to the national GDP. We are an agriculture economy where only 35% of the land is reliably irrigated, rest all dependent on the mercy of Lord Indra, the god of the rains. Well, we are entrepreneurial country, yes. During the time of Manmohan Singh, India's ease of doing business was at 149 position worldwide, 149 out of 200 countries. In 2019, under the Modi scheme, India jumped up to 63rd position, from 149 to 63rd. Not too bad. This is good news. There has been a progress in the areas of construction permits, trading across borders, and solving insufficiency. But still, we are way behind countries like Mozambique and Afghanistan. Can you believe it? You know how stupid it is. If you want to open a restaurant in Delhi, do you know you need 26 licenses and 45 documents to obtain clearance from police. In China, you just need 4 licenses. If you want to set up a manufacturing unit, you need to conform to 6,976 compliance items. To enforce a contract, it takes 4 years in India. In Indonesia, it takes 1.2 years. In China, 1.4 years. Infrastructure. If you want to export goods, they take 10 days to reach a port. In China and even in Bangladesh, they take only 1 day. You want to register a property, it takes 58 days to register a property on an average. And if you want to go to a court of law, the minimum time required is 1,445 days. Not something very happy. We have new education policy, but how many children don't go to school? Have you ever thought? We have Ayushman Bharat, great scheme, but still, how many people die of dysentery and malaria in India? More people die in India than anywhere else in the world. We are preparing to send a mission to the moon. It's a great tribute to our scientists. But the impact of the scientific innovation on the global screen is negligible. And many times it has happened that our best brains become cogs in somebody's wheel abroad. And that's a tragedy. We are an ancient civilization, and still we are negotiating the divide between tradition and modernity. We proclaim fealty to egalitarianism, socialism, but are deeply hierarchical in our thinking. Gender disparity, the lesser talked about, the better it is. The exploitation of women is horrible. We are now a part of the globalized world, but from many of our youngs, they are still adrift from the culture roots. We have become photocopies of the West. And really, nobody should respect photocopies. Our mimicry of the West abounds. We laud our culture, but neglect the real art and the cultural infrastructure. The Republic, Indian Republic, is proud to be land of many faiths, but we are misusing secularism, as I said earlier. We have to renew our constitutional commitment and keep religion at a distance from our politics, our life. Is absolutely for an individual in his bedroom or in his church or gurdwara or mandir. But no, bigotry and hatred are not wrong. So, where are we? We have advanced theoretically, and many areas we have, but we still have a lot to do. We have miles to go before we rest on our laurels. So, is the glass half full or half empty? It depends on the view you take. But I remain an optimist. I'm a believer that even the worm terms and what India has achieved, agreed India could have achieved much more. But given the constraints of our being tied to the Nehruvian socialism, absolutely stupid secularism, our hypocrisy in calling our enemies our brothers, our not even handed approach to economy, these are quite disturbing features. But still, if winter comes, can spring be far behind? No. So let this Independence Day be a day of introspection for each individual, for each intellectual, for each voter, and of course for each leader. Let's come clean on the slate. We are wanting, we have progressed a lot, but there's no satisfaction. We could have done much more. So why not do it? So let this celebration be a time of enjoyment and laudatory things. But let it also be considered that we are supposed to take a quantum jump and become number one. If you want to be a Vishab Guru and you are capable of doing that, today is the time for you to do it. Let today be a day of pledge taking to convert India from being a copycat of the West to being a Vishab Guru. Am I hoping too much? Anyway, wish India all success in his endeavors, provided each individual is committed, because the progress of the country is the progress of all individuals. Think about it. Thank you.